Hi everyone, I'm Steven Kolawole, all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'll be speaking on Streamlit, the fastest way to build data apps. Let's get started. Here is my table of contents. I'll be explaining the problem being faced by data scientists and machine learning engineers in building web apps today. Then we'll move on to finding Streamlit. I will explain what Streamlit is all about and why, and what it does exactly. And afterwards, we'll play around with the installation process and we'll check out the demo. And then we'll move on to building the step-by-step process of building a data app. And then I'll be, showing you the building blocks, that Streamlit makes use of in the building of a data app. Also, we're having a sneak peek at the different use cases of Streamlit. Finally, I'll be taking us to the concept of Streamlit, why Streamlit might not be the ultimate solution to all data apps problem out there. All right, so here's my profile. I'm currently a machine learning engineer. I'm currently looking for my next gig. I'm a computer science undergrad at Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. I'm a finalist. I'm in my final year of school. And also, I consider my skill set to be somewhere in the intersection of software engineering and data science. I'm also a Liverpool FC fan since I've been a kid. And I'm a Python freak. I use Python for most of my stuff. I use Python for web development, for data science, for machine learning, and all. I'm also a foodie. I like my food. Okay, so let's get down to business. What's our problem statement? If you've had to build a data app or a data-driven web app before, this is the issue process, right? The first step is usually, the data preprocessing and, data analysis, which is done in IPYMB files, right? And then if you want to share your findings with others, you might want to do that using the notebooks, right? Or better still, you might, if you want to reach a wider audience, then you might want to copy out the relevant functions into a .py script, into a Python script. You can then create an app, using Flask, right? And then if you're using Flask, you need to build a front-end part too. And for you to do that, you need to use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and JSON at very least. You might want to use a JavaScript framework also, right? But let's say your work is part of an organization process. So if it's an organization, then you most likely have a dedicated software engineering team, right? So that means you don't have to build the web app yourself. So you could give the requirements, right, the specifications to the engineering team. And of course, the engineering team will take care of the designing. And of course, let's say in a week or two, you might have the state of the hard app. And then the team lead, for the engineering team might probably tell you, hey, boss, we'll only be able to carry out updates on your app in, let's say, 2 or 3 months, right? So that leads us to, the pain point. Now, depending, having the software engineering team, to do this for you is nice, but it also, take up a bunch of our time, there's this sort of back and forth, and they need to get the specification right, and communication can really be a stress at times, and you probably won't want that. And also, you won't be able to create new features and updates, on a whim, right? Because you need to talk to the software development team, and of course, doing that takes time, and the software development team might also have a lot of stuff on this plate. We'd rather create these apps ourselves, but for one, most of us are not particular artsy. If you're like me, I can't recognize a blue color from a yellow color, from a purple color. I suck at UI designs, and of course, creating web apps means you'll be spending a huge amount of time, and most of us would rather use that amount of time to do something else. Also, if you're using Flask for your app, it also means that you have to bother with JavaScript, with HTML, with CSS, amongst others, and of course, learning those also take a while. And finally, most of us prefer to use our codes to generate insights or build a model, and then I use our codes to provide user with a pleasant experience. And that leads us to the million-dollar question. What if we could build apps as easily as writing Python scripts? That would probably change the world, right? So that leads us to Streamlit. What is Streamlit? So let's just say that Streamlit is the app that data scientists have been waiting for. Building apps with Streamlit is as easy as writing Python script. Let's say you have a particular Python script here, and then you write in your functions, you speak in a few Streamlit API call, and then of course you go over to your browser. Of course, you'll be able to see your new beautiful web app. It's that easy, right? Yeah, and it covers most UI used in Data Hub. Think of the check, the select box. You having a chart, right? You having a drag button, right? And all this would probably take minutes or hours. You trying to implement them on the front end side. But with Streamlit, they are already ready-made functions, not even functions, ready-made. Okay, let me use method. They are ready-made methods, that you could use. They're quite straightforward. I mean, you could do them in less than maybe a line or two of code, and I think that's quite fun. And also, Streamlit supports multiple interaction visualization libraries. Talk of Plotly, Bokeh, PyDeck, or Matplotlib, or Seaborn. Yeah, Streamlit supports every one of them, and also your favorite machine learning tools like Pandas, Scitylana. All of them are fully supported by Streamlit. Having said that, let's go through the installation process and maybe play with the demo. All right, so for you to install Streamlit, you need to do pip install Streamlit, and afterwards you can test on it, using Streamlit Hello. I'm going to try it out. So I already have Streamlit installed, so I'll just do Streamlit Hello, right? Yeah, so it's coming up, and got this up on my browser. Right, you could see the documentation. Feel free to try this out on your phone later, and just have fun with it. Right, so I could choose to play around with the demo. I'm going to try this plotting demo. Yeah, okay, you can see it's loading up, and you can see the nice animation over there. Yeah, and I can zoom in, I can zoom out. So yeah, so you could try this out. It's quite nice, and the animation is just for 5 seconds, I think. And let's go further. Let's go down. Yeah, so everything you're seeing up there is implemented, with this, I think less than 15 lines of code. And I think that's pretty amazing. Feel free to, try out all the other demos, later on. So let's move on. Now I'm going to walk us through the process of building the data app with Streamlit. Let's assume that we have a file called hello.py file. And of course, you have to import Streamlit as st, and then st.hello. Now, so then you go over to your bash or your command prompt if you're on Windows and try Streamlit on hello.py. And of course, it's going to bring this up in your browser automatically. And I think this is pretty amazing, because if you are doing this in Flask, you'll be doing it in, I think, 5 or 7 lines of code. I feel that's quite wonderful. So moving on, let's try that out. All right, so I'm going to open up the hello.py file. I've already written it. Okay, so here it is. But I think it's straightforward, so I'm not going to try it out. I'm going to try out a slightly more complex example. So now, yeah, here we are. Now, this file you're looking at, the idea behind this is this. I have a younger sister who is starting with data science journey. So she was, busy with the statistics and probability part, and I felt that, it would make much more sense to get to, see what she's learning. She gets to see it in practice, right? And, then get to tweak it, and see how it works. So that's the idea behind this script. So, of course, I have to import Streamlit as st, import NumPy as NP. I expect most of you to be familiar with that. If you're not, NumPy is a numerical computational library, Python. All right, so st.title, I think that's self-explanatory. We are going to have a big title, distribution tester as the words. And st.write means that we might have a line of code, so with this particular test, pick a distribution from the list, and we shall draw the line charts from blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, so here's another line of code. We have the keys, which is actually a list, and number, we have number and uniform, as the element in the list. I have this key, which is actually a Streamlit method, and is a select box. You can see st.select box. Which distribution do you want to plot? And I passed in the key list variable, as an argument. Now, if this key is equals to number, right? I'm going to have nums, and nums is going to be a randomly generated number, within the range of 0 to 100, to 1,000 to 1,000, of course. And then if this key is uniform, right? We're going to have a list of range 0 to 1,000. Then it's going to be a randomly generated number between 0 to 1. Now, the final line of code is a line chart, right? And we're passing in the nums list or element, as an argument. All right, so I'm going to go over to my browser. I'm going to go over to my terminal and, run this. So Streamlit run this tool.py. All right, so let's see what comes up. Now we have, you can see the header, you can see the line of code. You can see our select bus, right? Now it's at normal by default. Now, let's say I change this to uniform. Let's see what happens. Okay, you can see the difference in the in between normal and uniform. And it's quite amazing that we were able to come up with this little app in less than, I think, 12 lines of code. I think that's pretty amazing. I know the amount of code I'll probably use on this if I'm on Flask, right? Yeah, so let's move on. So let's have a look at the different use cases of Streamlit. Here's the Streamlit demo that lets you perform the semantic search across the entire Audacity self-driving Conf42 data set. And you can run a complete neural net in real time from within the app, in less than 300 lines of code. I think that's pretty amazing. Yes, but we get to see that later. All right, so let's come here. Yeah, so if you want to try it out, I think it's here. I'm going to open it up. Okay, yeah, so it's actually built by the Streamlit team itself. Yeah, so you could check it out on your own. I mean, all you have to do to run it is just to, copy and paste this following commands in your browser. All right, so I want to show you another demo. This is a house rent pricing app. This is a house rent by an apartment pricing app, and it was developed by a friend of mine, Moyo. All right, so it's still coming up. Okay, let's check back on this later. I'm going to open up this. This is another use case. This is a Streamlit gallery, and the gallery contains apps built by Streamlit developers all over the world. I'm going to open this up. So the house rent pricing app is built for major cities in Lagos State. Lagos State is like the financial capital of Nigeria, right? And the data was scraped from propertypro.ng, and you can select the particular city you want to live in, right? Lekki is eyebrow city in Lagos State, and let's select Lekki. And of course, you can choose the type of area you want to live in, and you can choose the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. So I'm picking 2 for each, number of toilets, and right. Let's drag this up. Yeah, do you want to live in an estate? Do you want to live in a terraced apartment? Do you prefer a new apartment? All these are choices that you can make, so that the apartment is tailored to your preferences. Now, once I press evaluate, so it's going to give me an estimation of what that particular kind of house is going to cost, right? So I have an estimation of 1,095,950,000 naira right there. Then it's giving me the range of house prices like you can see 5 million for the ones that cost quite much, and then we could have 1.5 million for those that cost lesser. And I think this is actually a nice use case of Streamlit. And don't be surprised if the amount of code that is needed to do this kind of particular evaluation to build this app is less than 100 lines of code. So let's move on. Now, looking at this gallery, you can see apps that have been built by Streamlit developers all over the world. You can see in New York City, Uber ride sharing. And there are lots and lots. You can see computer vision and images, finance and business, and all that's buying Tesla stock, formal calculator. I think this for Doge. I think commodity market price predictor, and others. You can. I will include a link, in the comment section. So feel free to check out all of this on your own later. And I particularly feel that Streamlit is awesome. Yeah. So let's move on. What are the cons of Streamlit? Why is Streamlit might not be the ultimate solution to all our web problems out there? Number one is the convenience flexibility trade-off. This means that most of those checkboxes, most of the UIs, are automated, right? I mean, you don't have to worry about them. So that means that you can't make custom changes to them. I mean, you can't just decide to place the chart side by side. Actually, it's also a strength of Streamlit, but what you get in terms of time and speed of execution, you have to compensate for it in terms of flexibility. And also, there's a cap on the size of data input, right? And it's 50 megabytes, right? Yeah, that might be a con for you too. Also, there's limited support for video and animation. Finally, you can build an app with functionalities, with complex functionalities. Think of user dedication, newsletter subscription, chatbots. You can't do that with Streamlit. If you're thinking of building, a web app with functionalities like that, you might want to consider Flask or Django for that. All right, so moving on. Even with all the cons of Streamlit is simple enough to use for every Python programmer who is portable with Python Basic, and it's superb if you want an interactive data very quickly. I mean, I've done this. Me working on an NLP project, and I just want to see how my model is performing so far. It's easier. I could spin up a web app in less than 30 minutes, and I feel that's actually quite cool. And also, if you start Flask developer, you need Flask, you need JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and JSON. At the very least, you might still have to bother with JavaScript frameworks like React or Angular or Vue. Yeah, and I think that's quite a lot. It might take a month or maybe years to master all those. But with Streamlit, all you're ever going to need is just Streamlit. And then if you're thinking of app containerization, then you might need Docker too. Having said that, thank you for taking your time to listen to my talk, and you feel free to say hi, to me at Steve the Dev on Twitter. And also, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And that's it. Bye.